It's time for today's travel and cruise industry news. With the latest from travel and cruises around the world, here's your host, Chillie Falls.
Good morning. Welcome to Travel and Cruise Industry News. Seem to be having some technical difficulties this morning. Of course, I'm not surprised with the morning we've had here at the farm. Some of you may have noticed that we had a tornado. I'm literally less than 2 miles from me. There's damage reports coming in now from that. I have a guest scheduled this morning, and she has not popped in yet, and we did test this out last night. So I'm not sure. So Lilly, if you are out there, you come in with the same link that we had yesterday. So pop in if whenever you can. In the meantime, we'll continue on without our guest for now. Today is Travel and Cruise Industry News on this, the 27th day of May, 2022. Today is National Grape Popsicle Day. Who in the world comes up with this crap? I haven't even seen a grape popsicle for 50 years, but it's National Grape Popsicle Day. Okay, and I do see our guest is with us, so I'll be with her just a second. Great cruise ships today sailing from North American ports. From Boston, we got the Norwegian Pearl. From New York, we've got the from Manhattan. I take that back. From Baltimore, we've got Enchantment of the Seas sailing. Port Canaveral, we got Disney Dream, Carnival, Liberty, and Independence of the Seas. Miami has the Scarlet Lady, Freedom of the Seas, Carnival, Conquest. Galveston, Grandeur of the Seas. Los Angeles, Long Beach, Carnival, Radiance. Los Angeles, San Pedro, Navigator of the Seas. Seattle, Ovation of the Seas and Celebrity Solstice. Vancouver, Seajourn Odyssey and MS Ocean Victory. Also, the Celebrity Millennium land package gets underway. Anchorage, we've got the Radiance of the Seas, and we've got the Zuiderdam and the Grand Princess land packages getting underway today. And Fairbanks, we've got Grand Princess and the New Amsterdam land packages getting underway today. All right, headlines in the news, which we'll get to it after our guest this morning. What's next for Carnival Freedom? Paint caused fumes on the Carnival Magic. No damage to Harmony of the Seas in Falmouth. Take an excursion with a celebrity captain? Nice. Azamara is the latest at 100% occupancy rate. So, all right. I'm just tickled this guest. My guest today is Lilly Longshore. She's a speaker, a writer, a wheelchair traveler, quadriplegic since 2002, who's also legally blind. She became driven by the need to raise a 2-year-old son and to regain some function and independence. Lilly has a unique and unusual life story. I actually discovered Lilly when I was reading an article that she wrote on the Pacific Northwest when I was out there a couple weeks ago. So I thought, wow, she'd make a wonderful guest. So with no further ado, Lilly, welcome to Chillie Chats. Good morning. How are you today?
Good morning. I'm doing great.
Awesome. Give my audience here the thumbnail version of your life story.
Oh, wow. A thumbnail version. Well, I am the youngest of 10 kids. I grew up in Ohio. I am actually a professional engineer. I worked as an environmental engineer for a number of years. When I decided to quit, it was a lot of work. It was hard work, and I quit about 10 years ago and needed something else to do with my time. And I actually was looking at information that was available on the internet on wheelchair travel, because I really have always loved traveling. I was in the Peace Corps when I was younger, and that was gobs of fun. So I just have always loved traveling. But I didn't feel like there was enough accurate information on the internet, and so that's why I started writing articles. Anytime I went on a vacation, I would write it up and what my personal experience is. Things change depending on what mobility equipment you use, and so I mean I was giving my perspective based on the chair I was using, and just wanted to get the information out there and share it with people, in case it would be helpful. So that has been a big thing for me after my injury. Well, after I quit working and then after my injury. So anyway, yeah.
You talked a great deal over the years about trying to regain mobility, and that's
Yeah.
of course that's an area that is just pretty much non-existent. Were you successful at all?
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. I was really fortunate. I was just very, very fortunate because when I broke my neck, January 28th of 2002, I was completely paralyzed from my neck down. I couldn't move my arm, nothing. I mean, I can move my arms now, but I mean, I couldn't move anything. I couldn't even breathe actually. And what really saved my life is that my 2-year-old was there. I was actually had fallen with him in my arms. And hit
Oh,
my head on the floor and broke my neck. But anyway, he was there and I wasn't moving, obviously. And he started tapping on my shoulder, going, "Get up, mommy, get up." And these are all secondary breathing muscles, and my diaphragm was paralyzed. And had he not tapped and kind of stimulated these muscles, I would have died. Because I couldn't breathe until then. I was opening my mouth
wow.
and air was not going in. It was it was pretty scary. But anyway, so then when I was in the hospital, I was there for maybe 3 months. But it started out, well, they had me on a respirator for like the first, I don't know, I don't really remember ICU very well, but I think I was there maybe 3 or 4 days and I was on a respirator. So I couldn't breathe on my own. So it started out like that, no breathing, no arm movement. I couldn't even I couldn't lift my arm to, anything. I mean, I couldn't hold a fork. I couldn't, it was really pretty extreme. And the neurologist did say I was going to remain paralyzed from my chest down. And after about 4 months, I was able actually to really very weakly move my leg, my lower, like seems my hip flexor muscle worked a little better on my left. I could actually pick my leg up a little bit. I mean, I had a little bit of movement. And so if something worked, I just worked it and worked it and worked it until it exhausted and got stronger. And I was really fortunate that that avenue worked for me. And then when I got out of the hospital, then I ended up swimming. I got into the pool. And again, I mean, when I first was in the pool, I couldn't really, I went with I started out going with somebody to help me, but eventually I got to where it took probably a year and then I could actually swim on my own, and so that's what I do now. I mean, I go to the pool 3 times a week and I make sure I do what exercises I can. I swim laps because I can actually swim about a third of a mile. So I do that 3 times a week, and I am so grateful that I have regained that ability because that was not there when this whole thing started. So yeah, I can actually at this point holding on to something really steady, like a handrail, and I can a handrail and one crutch. I can walk, for a little bit, holding on to something really steady. But as my vision, because this is my second disability, is I've always had the retinitis pigmentosa. I just didn't know it, and it actually is kind of what caused the breaking of the neck because I was so night blind. I didn't even realize what was going on. But the retinitis pigmentosa is degenerative, no treatment, no cure. It's just going to keep on getting worse. And as my vision gets worse, my balance gets worse, and so I can no longer walk on crutches. I used to be able to walk a little ways on crutches. But I can't do that because my balance is too bad. And of course, I've developed osteoporosis and blah, blah, blah. It just it cascades. But what I can do is hold on to a handrail, like a rail along a creek, or a rail along. I like to go to the Vancouver waterfront and grab the handrail that goes along the river. And I can take one crutch and the other side a steady rail, and I can walk, with that, which is wonderful.
That's
So,
that's awesome.
yeah.
All right,
So
now you
I
had
can walk
another.
can
Okay.
walk for a short distance, I gotta say. Not for
Yeah,
very long, just short distance, like 20 yards or something.
yeah.
So,
Being a 10-yard person, that's my max. So
yeah,
you
you
got
gotta
me
do it.
beat there. to do what we can do.
Yeah.
Now, you have another little wrinkle in this whole equation, that your son has the same visual disability?
Right. It's a genetic disease, and that's how I discovered that I even had it, because it's what's called X-linked retinitis pigmentosa, which means it's a defective gene on one of my X chromosomes. Well, my son only has one X chromosome, so he just has the one defective gene. And so for him, he's just slammed with it. It's just perfectly, it's just obvious, it's just, he's been illegally blind since he was about 5 years old. For me, it took me until I was, oh my gosh, probably in my mid 40s, because I have one normal gene and one abnormal gene. So I have a little bit of the protein to nourish the retina, but not enough. And he has none, So yeah, he has, his is pretty extreme. It's I my heart goes out to him, because it does make things a lot harder going through college and stuff. It is a lot harder. I mean, you would think that people just hand you, going through school, hand you your accommodations, and it just simply does not work that way. I mean, we had to fight for his accommodations all the way through elementary school. He went to the blind school when he was in middle school, and there he was handed accommodations. Just, they knew what they were doing there.
Yeah.
And then when he finished middle school, he chose to go to the iTech school here in town, which is a very good school, but he felt he would rather do that than stay at the blind school, and it was his choice. But by that time, he knew what to ask for. So the blind school did a good service for him, when he was going, because he knew the difference then, of what, the stuff the teacher should be giving him, and what sort of technology helped him. So yeah, I was the parent representative on the blind schools board for a number of years because of him. And, he was what they call an outreach student. So he went to school in middle school there, but then in high school, he became what they call an outreach student. And so, it's a whole different set of problems that the school has to deal with when they have to go out to the schools and service the kids. So it was pretty eye-opening.
Yes.
It's a lot of work, But
now, you live in the Pacific Northwest.
Mm-hmm.
Regionally, how are they with ADA compliance and doing the things in that area that help any of us that have disabilities?
I do think that it is definitely on their radar. They, when they redo the streets, they do nice ramps and stuff. Because it is federal law. It's not just the ADA. It's also like it seems to me it's like some sort of a transportation sort of law, that when they resurface a street, they also have to do any ramps that are around. And so I think that they do a pretty good job here, in the Pacific Northwest. I think that people still need to be aware. Able-bodied people really do need to be aware of staying out of, unless they have a disability themselves, they should not be parking in handicap spots. They should not be using the handicap showers at the gym, and they should not be using the handicap stalls at the gym. And I see that an awful lot. And then, it makes it where I'm constantly having to fight, to go use the one stall that is available for me. And there's like 6 of them that are open that I can't get into. And I just don't, I can't believe that people don't understand that, but I see that way too often.
Right.
So, all right. But that's a behavior thing. It's not a city accommodation or a business accommodation.
Yeah, but that's a behavior everywhere too, because I run into that problem. Yeah, I mean, even on cruise ships, I run into that problem a lot.
Yeah, I mean, the able-bodied people will use it as a convenient. It's convenient. It's bigger. I like it, or whatever. I don't understand it. But to me, it's just like, wow, you're taking the only one that I can use because you like the extra space, and I just think that is really inconsiderate. So I wish people would stop doing that.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
All right, how did you do traveling wise with the pandemic?
I didn't go anywhere. The only place I went during the pandemic, my son needed a very specialized heart surgery. And it is Cleveland Clinic in Ohio is still the #1 heart hospital and has been for like 50 years. And so that's where we took them. So we flew from the Pacific Northwest to Cleveland, Ohio for that purpose in the fat middle of the pandemic. But it wasn't like it was not a traveling fun thing. It was a necessary surgery thing. And they knew how to do the right thing. So we took the risk. It was, to me, really frightening because it was early enough on that they really didn't know exactly that much about COVID. So we just wore our N95 masks the whole time. We were super careful, washing hands a lot, all that stuff, because we didn't know. Nobody knew, how the transmission worked. So I pretty much didn't go anywhere except for there. And then after a couple years, I know recently I've gone to just short flights, and in my short flights, like we went from Portland to San Francisco, it's only an hour and a half. And so we just put our N95 masks on when we left the house and didn't take them off until we got to our destination down there, and just, made sure, because then now we know it's respiratory. And so that's what I plan on doing, is just when I'm traveling, I'll just keep that N95 mask on until I get to my destination. And I'm still washing my hands a lot. So. And I'm traveling more though, so I'm
I
good.
have become very comfortable on cruise ships.
Oh, that's cool. I haven't tried that yet.
Number one, I know that everybody is vaccinated and boosted.
Oh, they have to be for cruise ships. Okay.
They're not there if they haven't been. Now that's starting to loosen up a little now, but it's been that way.
Okay.
Then when they first started with kids, then you had the problem of kids that weren't vaccinated, but still that was a minor portion because they were, for up until just the last 30 days or so, they were sailing at 95% guaranteed vaccinated. So I became comfortable. I started, my first cruise back was in February, and I've been on 9 now.
Wow.
But I'm very comfortable on that. Now, I am not comfortable on airplanes, but not necessarily from the pandemic. I'm just not, I'm a big fat guy, and I hate to be stuffed into a 3-way seat, number
They've gotten
one.
smaller too.
But I'm just not comfortable on airplanes anymore. So I've tried driving to cruises, which I liked a lot because I could go at my own pace. This last cruise out of Seattle, I took the train from Virginia to Seattle.
Oh my goodness. Wow. Now what was that like? That sounds fun.
Well, it was and it wasn't. I mean, on paper, it was a much better trip than it actually was. I didn't sleep well on the train.
Okay.
You can't, I mean, unless you're a multi-bazillionaire, you can't afford the sleeper cars. They're just extremely expensive. So I tried to do it from the seat. And that kind of sucked. But
I bet that would, yeah.
I mean, it was 4 days.
Oh, wow.
So that's a lot of time that I'm dealing with a lot of people in close circumstances that I have no idea if they're vaccinated or not. So,
so the trains don't have that the vaccination
they don't have
requirement?
the recommendation.
Okay.
Yet.
All right.
I think someday it will. But anyway, I mean, I'm glad I did it, and it's still now that's in my wheelhouse of when I go on the next cruise on how I'm going to get there.
Right.
But I'm comfortable on the cruise ships themselves, which was a good thing. So,
yeah, that sounds that I've been on a few cruises, and I actually really do enjoy them. But I haven't been. It's only been like 4 of them since I've been injured. 4 of them in the last 20 years. Yeah, I tend to like to spend more time than what the port of call time allows you. And so I actually have done better planning my own, like flying to Europe and picking out certain cities in certain countries and spending 3 days here and 4 days there, or whatever it is, depending on how much there is to do. But I also really do like the cruises. One of my favorite ones that I went on was I left out of San Juan, Puerto Rico, and then went to some of the Virgin Islands in the West Indies. And oh man, it was with Royal Caribbean, which I like Royal Caribbean. It was wonderful. It was really wonderful. And what I did also, I mean, you can look on their itinerary and pick out wheelchair accessible excursions, but that's pretty limited. And I do wish they had more choices. But what I did is I just kind of went online and, like, if I wanted to go snorkeling in St. Lucia, for example, they didn't have anything that allowed me to snorkel that was part of the Royal Caribbean excursions. And so I just contacted the people directly and just said, hey, this is my situation. I have a manual chair. I can hold on to a railing and take steps, but not, and only if I am holding on to something really sturdy. I actually can, like, they had a ladder that went into the water. I actually could grab on the sides of that ladder and I could climb to the top. And then I kind of needed a little bit of help to kind of take that last step, into the boat, and then grab again on a ladder. And I tell you, they said, oh, we can accommodate you. And they had these big, huge, giant men that would just, like, I thought he was going to help me stand up, and I put my arm up to grab his shoulder, and he reached down and just, like, scooped me up and carried me away like I was his bride or something. I couldn't believe it. It was like, wow. And he was huge. And I'm not small. I'm 5'8". I mean, I'm not a small
Yeah.
lady. And he just scooped me up and just carried me off. And I remember saying, oh, I said, when I realized he was picking me up, I said, oh my God, you have no idea how much I weigh. He goes, you have no idea how strong I am. I totally wanted to take him home with me. He was awesome. So, but it made it where I could go snorkeling. It was wonderful. So the people in St. Lucia and the people in Antigua, those two especially, were really accommodating, and not wheelchair accessible necessarily, but people were so willing to help. It was fantastic. It was great.
One of the things that I've been really pushing on recently, toward the end of my 9 cruises I've been on this year, is finding accessible excursions, because that, even the pandemic, like, erased a lot of the accessible excursions that we had out there.
Wow.
They're just gone now. So I've been struggling to find excursion, because as I've started getting more in tune to the whole area of accessibility, I'm spending more time, and I've had calls from viewers that say, okay, talk to us about accessible excursions now. And we're understanding what you're saying about the ship itself and what you can and can't do.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to find some things. In Alaska, it was much easier.
Alaska's wonderful.
Because
Yeah.
I was able to do. I went up to Mount Roberts when I was in Juneau, and I went to the lumberjack show and catch can. So I mean, those were just easy. So,
Yeah.
but there's a lot of things you can do in Alaska that are accessible. So
Yeah, Alaska's really great. That's one of the cruises I went on, and I remember going when we were in Juneau. We went with I think it was called Ellen Marine Tours. It was a whale watching thing. Oh my gosh, I could not believe the number of whales we saw out there in whatever bay that is. It was incredible. It was really, and it was nicely wheelchair accessible. We, a nice ramp right onto this. I think it was a kind of catamaran, real flat, but it was wonderful. It was just wonderful. So yeah, it was great.
what's ahead for Miss Lilly?
Well, in a few weeks here, we're going to go to San Diego. Honestly, I've never been to San Diego. But I'm going to actually go down there, and my niece has got, I'll be meeting my niece down there, so she can go with me and visit different places. And one of the really exciting things I'm looking forward to is in the fall, I will be going to Panama, as in Central America, Panama. And that's been a lot of work trying to plan that, because as it's not America, and it's they don't have ADA laws. I'm very interested to see how hard or easy it will be to get around down there. I'm taking a risk, but I really want to go check it out. So I've been there before. I hurt myself like 30 years ago, and honestly, I didn't even pay attention to, do they have ramps, do they not? No, and it was also 30 years ago. So we'll see what it's like now. So in Panama City, I know there are some, it's some good places that are accessible, but it's just outside of Panama City. I'm not sure. So we'll see.
I will look forward to following your travels and picking up all kinds of information on Panama.
Oh, all right.
That will be great.
Wonderful.
All right, Lilly, thank you so much for being with me today. This has been just delightful. I certainly do appreciate it. And I need to, unfortunately, get on with the news.
All righty. Well, it was great talking to you. All right.
All
Thank
right,
you so
Lilly,
much.
thank you so much. And we'll do
All right.
this again.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right, thanks. That's Lilly. That was a great interview. Lilly Longshore. She is just awesome. Speaker, a writer, a wheelchair traveler, quadriplegic, legally blind, and a huge advocate for disability rights. That was great. All right, I'll be back with today's news after a word from one of our network sponsors. Okay. Did I just screw that up? Did I just screw that up? I hope I didn't. I thought there for a second I did. Oops. Yeah, I got, okay. Okay. Anyway, somehow I did, but I think I'm still alive. Wow. That would be a disaster if I did foul that all up. Okay, let me get back over here where I need to be. There we go. All right. That's the Freedom. Carnival Freedom yesterday. As you can see, some of the clips. This is by the way, a clip that was sent to me from some folks on the ground there in Grand Turks on the fire above on board the Carnival Freedom, which was indeed quite a scene yesterday. All right, so the Carnival of Freedom, here's what's up ahead for it. Following a fire that occurred in the smokestack while docked in Grand Turk yesterday morning, the company has detailed how they plan to get passengers home. Didn't realize this yesterday when I reported on this, that they were actually serious enough that the ship can't go anyplace. I didn't even think about that. The vessel was on the final stop of a 5-night cruise with 2,500 guests, 975 crew on board when the ship caught fire. All guests and crew are safe. All other ship, hotel, guest services, and safety equipment are fully functioning. The ship will not leave the island and instead will spend the next couple of nights in Grand Turk Cruise Center. Sister ship Carnival Conquest is being dispatched from Miami and is expected to arrive on Saturday afternoon. At that point, guests will be transferred from Carnival Freedom to the Conquest. After guests on board the Conquest, the vessel will sail toward Florida, where it's scheduled to arrive in Port Canaveral Monday. The silver liner, in addition to everyone on board being safe and sound, is that the guests will be able to come and go as they please, as opposed to being confined to the ship. Carnival Corporation built the Grand Turk Cruise Center in 2006. Meanwhile, the May 28th departure of Carnival Freedom from Port Canaveral has been canceled, as the ship will be at Grand Bahama Shipyard having her damaged funnel replaced. The heat of the fire was so hot on the starboard side of the funnel that it really melted away. Carnival Conquest scheduled sailing on the 27th of May is canceled, and the 30th voyage will be shortened by a day as travels between Port Canaveral and South Florida, its year-round home port. The vessel will instead sail a modified itinerary on May the 31st. Guests booked on impacted sailings on Conquest and Freedom have been notified of the changes. There'll be some compensation for the changes. Meanwhile, the Carnival Magic, several passengers reported being sick from breathing the foul odor aboard the Magic while it was docked in Norfolk. In a statement Thursday, Carnival said the odor was linked to an exterior painting project that happened on Wednesday. The ship arrived in Norfolk on Wednesday morning and all guests disembarked. The ship's crew quickly reacted and provided assistance to the guests. The Coast Guard has been investigating it, and they have been on board but did not have any additional information. Harmony of the Seas, meanwhile, if that wasn't enough problems, Harmony of the Seas, while docking in Jamaica, Harmony of the Seas collided with a small concrete mooring pylon, causing dents, paint scrapes, and other damage to the cruise ship. The incident happened while the ship was backing into its assigned spot at the dock, but inspection showed the overall damage to be minor and the ship has been successfully repaired. The Oasis class Harmony of the Sea is currently sailing a 7-night Western Caribbean itinerary. The ship left Port Canaveral on Sunday, visited 2 ports of call in the Bahamas, the capital city of Nassau, and on Monday, and Coco Key on Tuesday. Wednesday was the day at sea, and they had the wreck in Falmouth about 7 a.m. on yesterday. The affected part of the ship was thoroughly inspected. No structural damage was found, and they went on their way. I did reach out to a friend that's on board right now. I have not heard back as I was trying to get some information of what it was actually like to wreck. But I have not heard back yet. Now, kind of a neat thing. Celebrity Cruises has a rich Greek heritage and has several ships operating between the beautiful Greek islands. What's better than asking a local what to do when the ships come into port, such as Athens, Santorini, Mykonos, Cologne? The Miami-based cruise line has enlisted the help of its captains for a series of captain-curated shore excursions. Get the tongue working here. Offered on board any of the celebrity cruise ships sailing in Greece during the summer of the 2022 season. The tours are designed so that guests can experience the destinations like a local, whether on board Beyond, Constellation, Reflection, Apex, or Edge. A captain-curated shore excursion program will be available. That's pretty cool. And finally, this morning, folks, Azamara has reached 100% capacity since the restart. That's not all that exciting, folks. It's only 4 ships, but at least they're the latest line to be at 100%. All right, let's jump over and see who's in the chat room this morning. Hot Air Tom says hello to everybody. What do you know about Harmony backing into the dock? Where was it? I've seen reference to Coco Cay and also Jamaica. Yeah, it was in Falmouth. Hot Air. Hit a mooring. If there's no thought yet, was this mechanically caused? I mean, there's not, contrary to popular opinion, the cruise ships are driven by computers. The captain's not sitting up there spinning the wheel around, folks. I suppose they can take control, but this is all done computers, I think. So something had to be afoul for them to wreck. And at least it wasn't bad. You'd think that would be the kind of thing that could be a driver error if somebody was actually driving the boat. But it at least to my knowledge, that's not the way it works. Nikki's with us. Hi, Nikki. Jack's with us. Hey, Jack, how you feeling down in Conroe, Texas? Flies to Seattle to embark on the Bliss for a 7-day Alaska cruise. That's awesome, Jack. I hope you feel well and are able to enjoy this cruise. I loved Alaska. I really did. Everybody's saying greetings to Jack. So we haven't seen Jack for a few days. Hot Air says, I love Ocean Blue on Bliss, but the lobster has an unreasonable upcharge to the dining plan. Solution, pay the a la carte price and use the dining plan at other venues. Okay. Jack says, I have 4 specialty restaurants. Decisions. Gretchen says, oh dear, sorry I'm late. Well, you can always go back and look at the replay, Gretch. Hot Air recommends Cagney's, The Bistro, and La Cucina. I would always recommend Cagney's. La Cucina, yeah. I don't remember. I don't think I've eaten at La Bistro. At least if I had, it doesn't come to mind. But I don't remember eating at La Bistro. I like Cagney's a lot. Hot Air says, I love the Asabuca entree. Great flavor. I would probably never have tried that, except a person in our group back in 2018 recommended it. Well, that's pretty cool. Jack says he'll keep Asabuca in mind. Funny, I was craving it, so booked a February 2019 cruise just to eat that entree. Told the hostess the restaurant had a hefty cover charge, $4,000, which was the cost of a suite for 2. Went with a friend from TWB. That's awesome. A cruise caused by Asabuco. That's a new one. Funny, the hostess didn't understand your joke. I'm not surprised at that one. San Diego has a great climate. Yeah, I like San Diego. I have not sailed out of San Diego. The next time I sojourn to the West Coast, it will be one of the things that I will do is a cruise from San Diego and a cruise from San Francisco. Nikki said, great interview. Thank you, Nick. Looks like Freedom needs the blue hull paint job to cover that ugly rust. I'm not sure when that was scheduled, as a matter of fact. I'm wondering what happens to the Carnival Conquest passengers on the book cruise that will be missed while they picked up the guests from Freedom. The information I have is they were notified that the cruise was canceled. And it was specifically those folks. So I guess they're canceling that cruise completely and just giving them money back. Conquest was scheduled to do a 3-day cruise stopping in Nassau. Hot Air saw a post that said they just changed captains on the Harmony. Not a good start for a new captain. Yeah, no, that's. Do they have driving records? I mean, if you pull up, we pull up Emily's driving record, for instance, it'll tell us how many speeding tickets she has and how many times she got caught driving and drinking wine with dogs in the car or whatever. Does a cruise ship captain have a driving record? That's an interesting question for Hot Air Tom to find an answer to. Jack says, La Bistro on the Pearl was great. Ate there twice. Good to hear. We do a back-to-back on the Pearl on the 24th. I've had issues with the mushroom soup not being hot enough on 2 ships. Had to send it back. But, that tends to happen with soups quite often. That's if over the years, if I have complained about anything as the way of food, that's one of the complaints. That and strip steaks. I'm just not a fan of strip steaks. And invariably, when I eat a steak, it's almost always cooked to perfection. And I'm totally happy with it, with the exception of strips. And 9 times out of 10, I'm going to be unhappy with a strip steak. Maybe that's just me. I don't care for strip steaks at home either. So, I mean, it's not just cruise ship strip steaks. But unfortunately, there's strip steaks on a lot of cruise ships. And I would much prefer regular, fillet or a ribeye or prime rib. I mean, I'll eat prime rib or the beef tenderloin. Beef tenderloins, I've become a huge fan of that also, especially Royal Caribbeans. That was excellent. All right, guys, that's going to wrap me up for today. Unless something major happens, no show tomorrow. Okay. That will be my Saturday off. The Cruise Amigos will be on Sunday at 2 o'clock Eastern time, Eastern Daylight Time, 1 o'clock Central Time, and that's 7 p.m. British Summer Time. Do I mean the New York Strip? What did I say? Yeah, that's what I mean, the New York Strip. Just not a fan of that cut of meat. That's the best way of putting it. So, anyway, normal weekend schedule for this weekend. There is going to be an announcement on the Cruise Amigos on our future schedule. It's going to change, folks. Tell you that up front. I'm not going to tell you what it's going to be, but the schedule will change. And of course, keep in mind, folks, the 3rd, the 7th, and the 13th, my shows, this show will not be live. They will be pre-recorded. They will go live at 11 o'clock like normal, only I'm not going to be there. I will be at the doctor's doing tests and scans and all that crap to see about the cancer returning and what I'm going to do about it. So we're past the emotions of yesterday on to, okay, let's put on the boxing gloves and decide to fight this again. And that's what we're going to do. So at any rate, that's it for the day, folks. So I'll see everybody on Sunday. And if something major happens, I'll see you live on this channel. In the meantime, you guys have a fabulous day. As always, stay safe, stay healthy, think about cruising. Hopefully one day soon, we'll all get together on the high seas. This is the old fat travel guy. Thanks again to Lilly for a great interview. I'll see you next time. Later, y'all.
I regularly post videos on all facets of the travel and cruise industry. So if you like to keep up with the latest in cruise ships, ports of call, cruises themselves, Chillie chats, and travel and cruise industry news, just hit the little subscribe button in the lower right-hand corner, hit the bell notification so you'll be notified when a new video is up or we go live. This video was produced by Chillie's Cruises.